If your pals schedule a party specifically on your birthday, maybe you need to do some partying malicious compliance. We'll get to that in a bit, but first, I didn't have to work overtime? Okay, roger that. I'm a mariner. My position on the ship is mate. Below me are my deckhands who are responsible for the labor work, like painting, grinding, maintenance, line handling, cargo ops, etc. Above me is the chief mate, second in command, and the captain, in charge of everyone and the responsible individual for the entire ship. We are officers and we do the planning for navigation, ship handling, training, payroll, etc. I work for a private company that pays me by a day rate, which is a 12-hour workday. I work 1 month on and 1 month off. Like most industries, we are undermanned, can't hire enough to fill all positions. Now, this ship I work is even harder to crew up, mainly because of the captain. He's got a notorious reputation for being a jerk. So people find all sorts of ways not to come to this boat. And if they do, they only work 1 tour and never come back. I joined the ship back in May, and for the last 7 months it's been kinda heck working for this captain. He's a narcissist, condescends everyone, insults everyone, works us like slaves, never thanks us. Just an all-around class act. You know these types of bosses. They never let up, they push you to the limit and just make you hate work and life. With that said, I've been working 15, sometimes 18 hours a day because we're shorthanded. I'm doing all sorts of work that's not in my job description. I had to do cargo ops, handle mooring lines, maintenance, all in addition to my mate duties. I'm a very hard worker, a team player, and never say no to work. The thing is, we don't get paid for any more than 12 hours of work a day, so all these extra hours I worked are unpaid. It burns me and I freaking hate it, but like I said, I'm a team player. I want to make sure it's safe for my guys. The operations get completed and clients stay happy, so I do what's asked of me. I'm also the cook. We don't have an official cook on board because this is considered a small crew and small ship. I was cooking lunch every day for my crew and many dinners too. Generally, you're on your own for breakfast and dinner. I was so good at my job that he and the chief mate passed their duties on to me so they can just sit back and relax. Chief mates and captains have a lot of paperwork to do, but I was handling that for them too up until this point. Well, one day, I'm just completely burnt out on these 15 to 18 hour days. I get into a discussion about how the captain in the company is stealing my wages because I'm working more than 12 hours a day. I asked him if I could show up to watch an hour later than my scheduled duty. The engine department does this when they require their folks to work overtime the day before. I work a swing shift, which overlaps both the captain and chief mates, so it's not unheard of or uncommon to let guys show up late, especially if they worked more than 12 hours the previous day. Well, once I asked to sleep in an extra hour, all heck broke loose with him insulting me, calling me names, being racist. Nobody wants to work anymore, blah blah blah. Just nasty, inappropriate behavior that shouldn't happen but happens all the time in this industry. He then finishes the verbal beatdown with a cocky eating grin. You know, mate, you never had to work overtime. You could have just said no. I was steaming at this point, but I just replied with, okay, roger that. I called it a day and went to bed. Cue malicious compliance. The next day I'm already on watch and he comes to work and asks me what's for lunch. I said nothing. I'm not cooking today. They said, did you pull anything out from the freezer at least? Nope. So nobody had any real food for lunch. They all made sandwiches and ate chips instead. Later that day, hey, I need you to go finish painting the rescue boat. The guys are busy with other projects and I want this done today. I said, well, Captain, since it's not on my job description, I respectfully decline. We get into a little arguing, but he concedes. The very next day, he pulls the same thing. What's for lunch? Nothing. What do we have that we can cook real fast? I don't know, Captain. I didn't check. Cooking isn't my job, remember? So I don't plan on doing it. He rushes to cook some whole chickens in an hour and they came out raw and really ticked off the crew. Nobody touched his food. This routine lasted a whole week until it was the end of my tour and I got to go home. I returned to duty a month later and he thought I would forget or let it slide. I indeed did not forget or let it slide. For the next entire month-long tour, the captain had to do the cooking because the chief mate and I refused to do it, and he complained because he had to wake up early and prep food. I was already doing all of that when I was cooking. I just didn't complain. I enjoy cooking, but I was willing to die on this hill. I wasn't letting it go. I refused to let him win this battle. I did not cook one meal. To be petty, I made myself delicious food, didn't share it. I refused any work that wasn't in my job description. What's he gonna do? Write me up on disciplinary for not doing someone else's job that isn't mine? Or for not working past 12 hours? Not happening. Understand, at this point, I was physically tired, burnt out, and mentally drained from doing everybody's job and taking crap from him. I asked for a transfer to another ship, but got denied, so I'm still stuck on this ship with this captain. But now he knows where I stand, and I haven't cooked or did extra duties since. And that's what you get for taking advantage of a good worker and always insulting me. I forgot to add that one of the reasons for not getting a transfer is because nobody is easily willing to come here and work with this guy. One day during that hitch, I came up to the bridge and overheard him talking to the assignment manager about keeping me here permanently because he's a good mate, he's prior military, and he can cook, blah blah blah. I was supposed to be a floater, filling in positions on different boats as needed, which is what I like. Well, that worked out well. This guy was a dream of a worker and you're still going to treat them like crap? I mean, they deserved every little bit of it. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you enjoy awesome stories of malicious compliance, why not hit that subscribe button down below? That said, our next story is, you must work the weekend. I was an IT contractor for a company doing a large new project. There were about 30 people writing code. We were allowed as much overtime as we were willing to work, and I could use the money. I was working 12 hours, 5 days a week. On the weekends, I would go racing, usually out of state. It was common on Thursday to get called into a meeting, saying we needed to work 8 hours Saturday, 4 on Sunday. Most people would have 52 hours in total. I would do it if available, putting me at 72 or 76, since 4 hours is stupid. Other times, I would point out I'd already be at 60 and had plans. I was given an exception the first couple of times. Then I was told I was not being a team player. So I clarify, if I work 12 hours between 5 p.m. Friday and 9 a.m. Monday, is that good? Yes? Well, okay then. I left the office at 9 p.m. on Friday, 4 of the 12 down. The race trailer was already loaded up and ready to go. I headed out in the morning for a 4-hour drive. After the race, I headed back. Since I was driving near the office and the parking lot was empty, I pulled in a trailer and all around 3 a.m. I figured just badging in wasn't enough to demonstrate compliance. I sent an email out to the group with every task I completed. I completed everything I'd been assigned. There was a whiteboard with unassigned tasks. I sent an email that I was pulling a task, then another when completed. I had my full hours in at 11 a.m. I was being a smart butt. However, I didn't really expect the manager to get as annoyed about it as he did. A bit later, my contract was cut by that manager for my abrasive personality. The fallout seems to have been against me, but not in the end. My contract was cut. I was told on a Thursday morning and given the next 3 full weeks' notice. By Thursday afternoon, I had a job interview scheduled for Monday. By Monday afternoon, I had a couple more scheduled. I started a new position with no gap. That's pretty much the malicious compliance. Below is the fallout from the retaliation. The manager blamed the abrasive personality comment on the business. They're the people asking for and defining the project. I only worked with one. During my notice, I was working with her. I said something about someone else having to do the next phase. She says, yeah, that sucks. After giving cat butt face, I tell her that I was told the business wanted me gone. Since she was the only business I dealt with, wavy hand motion, she just got a pissed off look and stormed off. Her anger went up the org tree and back down my branch. Manager was told, I want OP on this project, deal with it. I had multiple people, HR, managers, peers, etc., ask me if I wanted to stay. They would have to make the crap hit the fan to do so. They didn't want to do that if I was leaving anyway. I said I'd already accepted an offer. I just wished that he'd been the one to ask me to stay. He was made to ask me if I could extend the notice period to provide training sessions on my techniques. I say, so you want my productivity, just not me. They said, well, yeah. I said, no, I'm already scheduled to start a new position. During my notice, 12 people found new positions and gave their notice. The attitude was that if the company was willing to cut me, they could cut anyone at any time. They would rather leave on their terms. That was not a problem for coders at that particular point in time. I was still working 60 hours a week during my notice period. On my last day, when leaving, the only person still there was that manager's boss. When I said bye, he said he'd meant to talk to me before I left. I sat down and talked. I said, you must be wondering why I would be working late on my last day. I wanted the section of software I was on to be working before I left, so no one could blame me for it not getting done. I said I was the only one left in the last few months who was working on it. All the tests had passed that day. Another section with similar work has 6 people working on it and is not done. He began to question the manager's decision making. He thanked me and said he may reach out in the future. A couple months later, someone reached out to me to see if I would come back. The manager's contract was cut, as were the other 3 people from his contract house. An employee who was buddies with the manager was moved off the project. Apparently, since the manager was also a contractor, he couldn't technically cut my contract. It was done by this employee. I didn't go back as my new abrasive personality manager and I got along great. Can they actually say work this amount of time if you're contracted to work already a set amount of hours? Maybe OP works in an at-will state. Our next story is, have a party on my birthday? Then we'll drink all your beer. This happened in the late 80s when I was in college. I went to UConn, University of Connecticut. In my sophomore year, I was assigned a room in a quad. During the 80s, the school ran out of dorm rooms, so they converted study rooms into dorms. These were deemed quads, so 4 students roomed there. My 3 roommates were seniors, all graduating. Since I was the owner of the room, UConn had an elaborate system to assign rooms. 3 friends approached me to be the 4th, so as to guarantee the room for next year. I'm pretty easygoing, so I said yes. This was a big mistake, since I find that I'm not compatible with others and we constantly butted heads. One example, one of the roommates volunteered to bring their record player for the room, but then didn't allow me to play my records on it because it was the devil's music. For the record, I had Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, that kind of music. And no, this person was not religious, he was just being a jerk. The list of complaints go on, but it all came to a head on my birthday. Weeks before my birthday, I informed my mates that I was throwing a party on my birthday and would like to have the party in the room. This wasn't unusual, there had been parties here before, thrown by one or the others. This was my first request for the room. The others said fine, and I started to invite my friends. I planned about 10 people. A few days before my birthday, all 3 came to me to tell me that they were going to throw a huge party on my birthday. When I protested, they said my friends could come as well, but the cover charge was $5. I pushed back, saying that I was buying my own supplies so my friends shouldn't have to pay. They agreed. Later, I find that they invited a lot of people, and I wasn't even going to see my friends, let alone celebrate with them. The night of the party, my roommates tell me to have my friends identify themselves so they won't get charged. This is where the malicious compliance comes in. I was really pissed that these guys were doing this, so I went down to the ground floor of our dorm and told anyone coming to the party that if you told the person taking money that you were there for my party, you won't be charged. You can probably guess the rest. The party was a huge success. All the beer drunk, roommates out all their money, I having some sort of satisfaction. Guess you shouldn't have scheduled the party on my birthday. Only bummer was that I really didn't get to hang out with my friends because it was way too crowded. Before anyone questions how did just about everyone get in free without my roommates figuring it out, 1, people were coming in staggered, so 50 people didn't just show up at the same time to make it obvious. 2, all 3 were collecting the money at various times, so they didn't know that everyone was claiming to be for my party until the end when they pooled their money. Well, I just feel bad for the poor suckers that did pay $5 after all that. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely awesome malicious compliance story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.